Hi everyone, Mrs. Thompson here. I want you to raise your hand if you've ever seen sailboats in the river by Cocoa Village. I want you to think about if you saw only one boat or many. Were some of the boats close to you? Were some of the boats further away? What does a boat that's further away even look like? Today we are going to use our knowledge of perspective like here, near, and far, or foreground, middle ground, and background to create a work of art showing at least 3 sailboats. You are going to have some time at the end to add additional details like more sailboats, weather, time of day, and more. You can decide now if you would like to follow me in the video or if you would like to try this drawing on your own. If you choose to do the drawing on your own, you need to include 3 boats in 3 different sizes. They do not have to be sailboats. Please go ahead and add your name to the back of your paper with pencil, and then you can choose your favorite drawing material to work with. My favorite thing to draw with is a Sharpie, and that's what I'm going to be using in this video. Let's go ahead and turn our paper sideways to landscape, and then we are ready to begin. Now I'm going to start by showing you where I'm going to be placing the first sailboat. We are starting by drawing in the foreground. Now this is the boat that is closest to us, so it is going to be the largest of the 3 boats. Let's start by drawing a straight line for the top of the boat, and then adding 2 diagonal lines on either side to make the sides of the boat. When you have this step done, please give me a thumbs up. We are only drawing the part of the boat we can see when the boat is in the water, so we do not need to draw the bottom of the boat. We will go back in later and add water underneath the boat. The next part of the sailboat we need to draw is the mast. The mast is what connects the sails to the boat. Let's start by adding a straight line up from the center, and we're going to put a copycat line right next to it. To finish off the mast, you just need to connect those 2 lines with a small straight line. Please give me a thumbs up when you're caught up. The next part of the sailboat we need to add are the sails. I'm going to be starting on the left side of the mast, and I'm going to be making a letter C shape from the top of the mast to near the bottom of the mast. Now this isn't even actually the sail. This is a negative space between the sail and the mast. At the end, you'll actually be able to see the water through this little C shape. The next line I'm making is the bottom of the sail. You can start the line at the mast and make a straight line out. The next step is going to be finishing the front of the sail, and that's by connecting that straight line to the mast with a curved line. Alright guys, we are almost done with the first sailboat. Let's go ahead and make the other side of the sail by starting with a straight line across the bottom. And this sail is going to look a little bit different than the first one. That's why we're starting it with a different step. Then from that straight line, I want you to take a diagonal line all the way up to the mast so it looks like a triangle. Just like in the first sail, we have to add some negative space where you can see the ocean through the sails, and I'm doing that with a curved line from the top of the mast to the bottom of the mast inside the triangle. Let's add some final touches to this boat. I think it needs a flag at the top, and I also want to show that the boat is in motion. So how can I use a flag to show either that the boat is moving or the wind is blowing? Let's think about what we've seen a flag do on a windy day. Raise your hand if you can tell me what a flag would look like. We can show movement in our art by adding a bumpy line or a wavy line for the top and the bottom of our flag. You could also choose your own flag for this step. Now that we have our first sailboat completed, let's talk about the placement for the next boat. This boat is in the middle ground. Who can tell me what size this boat should be? Since this next boat is in the middle ground, we're going to draw it just a little bit smaller than the first boat. Now, we don't want to draw it right next to the first boat. We want to put it a little bit over. I'm thinking all the way over on the right side of the paper. Another super important thing to mention is this boat needs to be up a little bit from the other boat. It cannot be in the same line as the first boat. These first 2 sailboats are very much alike, so I want you to use the same steps we did for the first sailboat to make your second sailboat. Start with a straight line for the top of the boat, and adding the 2 diagonal lines for the sides of the boat, the 2 straight lines up for the mast, the first sail. For this boat, I did swap the locations for the sails. I started with the curvy sail on the right-hand side, and then added the more triangular sail on the left. If it's easier for you, you could do that triangle sail for both the front and the back sails. I also want to add another flag to this boat as well. Now that my first 2 sailboats are done, which sailboat do I have left? Is it the sailboat in the foreground or the sailboat in the background? The last sailboat I'm going to show you is the sailboat in the background. We can actually draw this sailboat a little bit differently. Because it's in the background and it's so far away, we can add less detail. Your eyes can't pick up all the details of an object when they're super far away. The placement for this sailboat is going to be between the other 2 sailboats, but much further up the paper. Let's start this sailboat the same way by adding a straight line. Keep in mind this straight line is much smaller because this boat is so far away. Add the 2 diagonal lines for the sides of the boat. And this time I'm only using 1 line for the mast instead of 2 copycat lines. Since this boat is so far away, you could even draw the sails differently. There doesn't necessarily have to be negative space between the sails. You could draw 2 triangles. I still added a little bit of negative space in one sail, and in the other sail I simply used a triangle. The last thing I added was a teeny tiny triangle flag. All right, it looks like we have our 3 sailboats done, the sailboat in the foreground, middle ground, and background. Next, let's think about what's happening underneath the boats. We can't see the bottom of the boat because it is under the water, but we can use our knowledge of lines to make it look like the boat is floating on the water. For me, the best lines for the job would be either a scalloped line or a wavy line. Here I am making a scalloped line. You could pick a different type of line to represent the water in your artwork. It does not have to be as bumpy as mine. But whatever line you choose, please continue doing the same line underneath each boat. Make sure the line under the last sailboat is just a little bit shorter. All right, guys, we just have one really important thing to add before I let you add some details on your own. And that would be the horizon line. The horizon line is a super important part of your artwork because it's going to put your boats in the water. Right now, they're just kind of floating on our paper. Now, if you put the horizon line way too low on your paper, it's going to look like the top boat is floating. So let's make sure we put it in the right place. The horizon line is usually used to separate the sky from the ground or even the sky from the water in this case. Let's go ahead and add our horizon line. Right now I'm finding the perfect spot for my horizon line, which is going to go right through the top sailboat. When I come to the sailboat, I'm going to stop and I'm going to jump right over it. I don't want to go through it. The horizon line is behind the sailboat. Your horizon line might be in a little bit of a different place than mine, and you might not need to avoid sailboats at all. You could just have a straight line from one side of your paper to the other. Awesome job, guys. At this point, you might be done with the video for today, or maybe I'll keep playing the video and you can learn a little bit about what happens above the horizon line. If you want, at this point, you can follow me or you can start adding your own details. Now, things that happen close to the horizon line are going to be smaller than things that are further away. And that goes for what's on top of the horizon line as well. So when I add my first cloud, it's going to be very close to the horizon line and it's going to be super small. This cloud isn't necessarily smaller than other clouds we're going to be drawing. It's just the cloud that's furthest away. So it is going to be drawn as very small and very close to the horizon line. If you like to draw your clouds differently than the way I drew mine, please go right on ahead. I'm going to keep making clouds in my sky, and as I get closer to the top of the paper, I need the clouds to get larger. These clouds are drawn larger because they're actually closer to you. I added one more teeny tiny cloud very close to the horizon line, And now I'm going to move on and show you guys how to draw the sun on the horizon. So to make a sun, I used a half circle that started and stopped on the horizon line. You could choose a different time of day for your artwork and even add a sun and not a moon, but I wanted to add a sun so I can have sunset colors in the sky and blue water below. You are welcome to make whatever changes you want in your artwork. I'm just showing you this way. Now I'm going to speed up the pace of the video. I'm going to keep adding clouds in my sky, and I'm also going to start adding some details to the sailboats. I want you to use your own imagination and create your sailboats how you want them. You also might see me add some people in the boats, and to add people, what I do is I start with an upside down letter U, then I put a circle on top and some arms and color them in with my Sharpie. For the boat in my middle ground, I added 2 people fishing, so I added a fishing pole with a line going into the water. Let's go ahead and keep adding our own details. At this point, I'm adding some lines in the water to represent moving water. Maybe you can add some more people in your boats. Maybe there's a shark in the water. You can talk with people at your table to discuss different things you can put in your artwork. Thank you guys for creating with me. I hope you learned something about foreground, middle ground, and background today and how to create an artwork showing perspective.